Hello, this is Andy Darnley with Nationwide Lifts. In this video, I'm going to explain a little bit about LULA elevators. LULA elevators are commercial elevators that are meant for when it's really too small of an application to do a full commercial high-speed elevator, and too large of an application to use a wheelchair lift. So it's just the right fit in between. LULA stands for limited use, limited access, and there's certain limitations to it. So for instance, it can only be used in applications where there's up to 25 feet of vertical travel. It can only be used in situations where there's a certain amount of square footage within the building, and local building codes will dictate that. The most common locations or uses for a LULA elevator are churches, small office buildings, things like that. Now, some of the benefits to the LULA is that it takes up a smaller amount of space than a full-size commercial elevator, definitely a smaller footprint. It doesn't require a very deep pit. A commercial elevator will require a 4-foot deep pit or deeper. A LULA elevator, you can get away with just 14 inches of a pit. So as far as excavating a pit, it's a lot easier. Also, the overhead is a big difference. On a standard commercial elevator, typically you need somewhere around 12-14 feet from the floor level of that upper landing to the ceiling of the hoistway. It just gives you space for run by and for equipment and so on. With a LULA, you can get away with probably about 110 to between 110 and 120 inches. So we're talking just over 9 feet of overhead space you can get away with a LULA. So those are two of the key benefits. Now, as far as drawbacks go, it's slower. It only typically runs at about 25 to 30 feet per minute, so it's much slower than a commercial elevator, but in a lot of cases, if you're only going 10 feet, that doesn't matter that much. And then it's smaller. It's only going to be up to 18 square feet. The most common size is a 4 foot by 4 foot by 4.5, so 48 by 54 would be the most common size. But in many cases, people don't really notice a difference between a LULA and a high-speed commercial elevator. They both look very similar. They have the sliding doors. They have a nice commercial-looking cab. And so it's really the perfect application for a small office or a church. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to a site and take a closer look at a LULA. One of the benefits that I mentioned regarding the LULA is the pit. This is a typical LULA installation right here. This pit is only 14 inches deep. This depth is needed for the car to be able to come down and the support underneath the car to be able to fit here so that you could really come into the cab floor nice and flush. Now with a full commercial elevator, you typically need 4 feet. So it's a much different type of installation. You're digging a lot deeper. It's much more costly. So that's one of the biggest benefits of the LULA is the 14-inch deep pit. So if you're considering getting a hydraulic LULA elevator, you must also know that not only do you need to prepare for the hoistway, like we talk about the pit and the overhead, the whole hoistway, you also need to prepare some space for the machine room. So just like any other hydraulic elevator, there needs to be a place to put the controller and the pump unit. So you would have a separate closet with a fire-rated door and space for your hydraulic unit and controller, as well as your disconnects. Now, nice thing about the LULA is it's much more compact. If this were a full-fledged commercial elevator, you would need a room twice this size, and you'd have a much larger tank unit and much larger pipe, and just a lot more. It just takes it to a whole new level. With this, we're dealing with smaller pipe, fewer wires, a lot easier for routing, saves a lot on time and money. All right, as I mentioned, a LULA elevator looks just like any other elevator. You really wouldn't know walking up to this elevator. It looks just like it might be a 2,500-pound high-speed elevator. But it is a less expensive, easier to install elevator. It does move slower, but it does everything that you would need for a church, a small building, school. You have the sliding doors. You have a a good sized cab. The cab is ADA accessible. Car operating panel looks just like any other commercial elevator. Your position indicator, well lit, and actually really nice type of options for finished walls that really complement any type of a building. So really, if you're looking for something that is easier to install, less construction needed for a building, but you want it to look like a full commercial elevator, the LULA could be a really good option for you. Thanks for watching today. If you have any other questions about the LULA roped hydraulic elevators, please check us out at www.elevators.com, or you can reach us at 888-323-8755. Thank you.